The morning I came home from my solo weekend trip, I found my front door already unlocked from the inside. I'd been away since Friday. Stayed at a cabin 3 hours north. No service, no neighbors. I left work early, drove straight there, didn't stop. My apartment is a one-bedroom on the 4th floor. I live alone. I've lived alone for 6 years, and I have 2 locks on my front door, the handle lock and the deadbolt, because this city taught me early that one isn't enough. When I got home Sunday evening, the handle lock was open. I told myself I'd forgotten it. I do that sometimes when I'm rushing. The deadbolt was still thrown, so I unlocked it, went inside, and didn't think about it again. The apartment smelled like my shampoo. I figured it was just the bathroom holding the scent from my last shower Friday morning. I dropped my bag, made tea, watched something forgettable, and went to bed. Normal. Safe. Mine. I woke at 2 a.m. to the sound of the shower running. I lay still for a long time before I moved. Long enough to convince myself it was the pipes. Old building. They knock and hiss all night. But the sound wasn't knocking. It was water, steady water, and it stopped the moment I sat up. I checked the bathroom. Dry. Completely dry. The tiles, the mat, the curtain. I ran my hand along the floor of the tub, and it was bone dry and cold. I checked every room, every closet, under the bed. Nothing. I even opened the windows and looked out, for floors down, like something could have climbed. Nothing. I reset both locks, put a chair under the handle the way my grandmother used to, and eventually slept. By morning I'd rationalized it completely. Old building. Tired brain. Weekend alone in the woods playing tricks. I made coffee and felt almost embarrassed for checking the closets. And then I opened the Notes app on my phone to add something to my grocery list, and I found a note I didn't write. It was at the top. Timestamped Saturday night at 11:47 p.m. when I was still at the cabin, no service, no Wi-Fi, phone sitting on a wooden nightstand 3 hours from here. The note was 3 words. Just 3 words, no punctuation, in my own handwriting font. The way the app styles everything so it all looks the same. Let me finish. I haven't found an explanation. I've changed the locks. I've stayed with friends. I've had the building manager walk the apartment twice. I've had a friend stay over who is brave in ways I'm not, who checked everything, who slept on my couch and heard nothing. But here's what I can't stop thinking about. The shower wasn't wet. The tiles were dry. The mat was dry. Dry like it had been that way for hours. Dry like whoever had been in there, whatever had been in there, had finished long before I woke up. The note said let me finish. I don't know what it was finishing. I still live there. The Notes app is still open. I know the woman who used to own the cabin I'm renting this week because I found her driver's license in the wall. Not near the wall. In it. Behind a sheet of fresh drywall that had been put up so recently the mud was still damp when I pressed my palm flat against it and felt it give. I'd driven up to Harlan County on a Thursday, just me and a cooler and 4 days I needed to stop thinking. The cabin sat at the end of a gravel road that my GPS lost interest in about a mile before I arrived. No neighbors. No signal. The kind of quiet that sounds like tinnitus until your ears adjust and realize the silence is doing something. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not bad. Just recent. Like a window had been open until 20 minutes before I walked in. I told myself the host had cleaned that morning. I believed that completely. I put my bag down, opened a beer, and watched the tree line turn purple in the last light. The second night, I found scratch marks on the inside of the bedroom closet door. Low down, near the floor, worn deep into the wood. I told myself it was a dog. Old dog, scared of storms, previous guest. I went to sleep. The third morning, the curtains in the back room were open. I had closed them before bed. I was certain of it. But I told myself I must have forgotten, made coffee, and felt the knot in my chest slowly loosen. By noon I was laughing at myself. Genuinely laughing. I even started drafting a text to a friend. No signal, it never sent. That said, I've been scaring myself for 3 days over nothing. I'm fine. This is just a cabin. I found the license that afternoon, tucked inside the wall cavity like someone had filed it there for safekeeping. Rebecca and Mosley. Harlan, Kentucky. Born September 14th, 1981. The photo showed a woman with tired eyes and a half smile that people wear when they're cooperating. I didn't finish the 4th night. I drove to where the signal came back, pulled over, and searched her name. There were 3 results. A church bulletin from 2019. A Facebook post from a cousin asking if anyone had heard from her. and a county assessor's record showing the property had transferred to a new LLC 14 months ago. I did not go back for my bag. I drove 4 hours straight back to my apartment, and I didn't stop once. That was 9 days ago. I'm home. I've been home. But I've started noticing, in my own apartment, in the place I've lived for years, that the curtains are different in the mornings than I left them the night before. Not every morning. Just enough. I still have Rebecca's license. It's on my kitchen counter right now, face up. Her eyes are level with mine every time I walk past. They have been for a while now. I found my husband's hiking shirt folded on our back porch this morning, but we buried him in that shirt 11 days ago. Before any of that, David and I had been coming to this cabin in the Smokies for 7 years running. Same week every October, same two-lane road up the mountain, same creek in the third porch step that I kept meaning to fix and never did. It was the most ordinary place I knew. Coffee at 6. Fog off the ridge. David's boots by the door. The first strange thing was the boots. 3 mornings into our last trip, I found them outside instead of in. Toes pointed toward the tree line, not the door. I'd moved them myself the night before. I was almost certain of it. David laughed when I mentioned it. Bear, he said, nudged them nosing around. I believed him. Of course I believed him. We went on our hike and came home and made soup, and it was fine. Then he didn't come back from his solo walk on day 5. Search and rescue found him at the bottom of a ravine 2 miles east of the trail. His boot laces were untied. Both of them. The coroner said he'd been gone since morning. I identified him by his shirt, that red flannel, the one with the frayed left cuff he'd never let me throw out. We buried him in it, because he would have wanted that. I kept coming back to the boots. They found him with his laces untied. But David had been tying his own boots since he was 4 years old. He retied them obsessively on the trail, every hour, pulled them so tight his ankles would ache. I told that to the ranger. He wrote it down. He said these things happened, ma'am. He said grief does strange things to memory. I drove home alone, and I told myself he was right. Then last week a friend convinced me to return and collect the things we'd left at the cabin. Closure, she said. Healthy, she said. I went alone on a Thursday. The creek in the third porch step was gone. I stood there and I pressed it 6, 7 times. Nothing. I went inside and made coffee I didn't drink and walked through every room, and I told myself the cold had settled the wood. I packed David's things into a bag, and I was almost okay. I slept one night and drove home the next morning, and I hadn't looked at the porch since I arrived. That's when I saw the shirt. Red flannel, frayed left cuff, folded in a neat square on the bottom step. The step that no longer creaks. Folded the way I fold things, not the way David ever did. Corners matched. Edges aligned. I have not gone back for the shirt. I have not called the ranger. I don't know what is in those woods, or how long it has been watching us walk in and out of that cabin, or how many Octobers it has been learning the way we do things. I don't know what it wants, or what it is, or whether David's death was an accident at all. I don't know any of that. What I know is this. The shirt is still on the porch step. The man I'd been talking to for 6 weeks sent me a photograph of my bedroom, taken from inside my closet 3 hours before we were supposed to meet for the first time. I know how that sounds. I know. But I need you to understand that before that photo arrived, everything felt completely real. His name was Daniel. He found me on a hiking app, of all places, one of those niche ones where you log trails and share routes. We matched on a summit near my apartment, because he'd apparently done the same trail the same morning I had. He had a profile photo, a verified email, a Spotify playlist he shared with me on our third conversation. He knew the exact bench where I always stopped to eat my lunch. But that's a famous spot, I told myself. Everyone stops there. We talked every day, voice messages, not just texts. He had a warm, unhurried voice. He remembered things, the name of my sister's dog, that I take my coffee with oat milk, that I sleep with the window cracked even in winter. That last one I mentioned once, in passing, 8 weeks ago. I thought nothing of it. Last Tuesday, he suggested dinner. A wine bar downtown, nothing fancy. I spent an embarrassing amount of time getting ready. I was standing at my dresser when my phone buzzed, a message from him. Just an image, no caption. I opened it, and my brain refused to process what I was seeing for a full 3 seconds. It was my room, my actual bedroom, the particular slant of late afternoon light through my curtains. My open jewelry box, the back of my own head, reflected in the mirror I was standing in front of right then. I spun around. The closet door was open 4 inches. I ran. I got out and I called the police from my car, and I have not been back inside that apartment since. The officers found nothing. No one. They said the closet showed no sign of forced entry, no sign of anyone having been inside. They checked the hiking app. Daniel's profile was gone, not deactivated, gone, scrubbed, as if it had never existed. They found no explanation for the photograph. Here is the part one cannot make fit. Daniel knew the name of my sister's dog. I never posted that anywhere. I never typed it. I said it, once, out loud, alone in my apartment, on a voice message I recorded and then deleted before sending because it felt too personal too soon. The photo came from inside my closet. The account is gone, but the hiking app is still on my phone. And this morning, when I opened it, just to delete it, I told myself, just to delete it and be done, there was a new activity notification. Someone had logged my trail. My exact trail. 40 minutes ago.